Hello! We have two stories today straight from one of my favorite subreddits, PettyRevenge. Our first story gets heated when one young lady gets a new roommate with some odd concepts around food and sharing that turn their kitchen into a battleground. Enter the vegetable invasion. Armed with peppers, broccoli, and Brussels sprouts, our young lady adds greens to everything in an ambitious first strike. But our new housemate isn't amused and confronts her about this veggie ambush with some spicy allegations. Story 1. I posted this before in a different sub, but I figured it would be appreciated here and I have more things to add. I, 26-year-old female, live in a rented house with a single mother, 30-year-old female, and her son, 6-year-old male. I had another person living with me, but they moved out and the mother moved in. I don't mind living with her and her kid. It's fine, and we kind of do our own thing. I spend a lot of time at my boyfriend's place or working. Our work schedules collide, so we really don't interact much, but when we do, it's fine. No issue there. I want to start with saying that she clearly struggles financially, but I don't think it's an excuse. I don't make lots of money either. However, I've noticed that my food would go missing or portions would be taken from it. I assumed it was her kid, so I asked her if she'd stop him from eating my food. I was calm about it, and she just said she would. It didn't really upset me when it first started. It started getting annoying when I'd get home from work and expect to have a meal's worth of leftovers in the fridge only to see it picked through or just gone. I kept bringing it up, and she started getting annoyed with me bringing it up. Just from observing them, I realized that neither of them ever eat vegetables. And judging by the food that would get picked through and the food that would be untouched, anything with green in it was avoided. Orange chicken would be gone, but chicken and broccoli would be untouched. So I started putting vegetables in everything. I find vegetables to be delicious. And anything green or not a potato does not get eaten. So I could mix some bell peppers into the food and it would be fine. I make a big portion of vegetables pretty frequently anyway, so I just started putting it in everything I eat. If I had leftover mashed potatoes, I'd pour green beans in and mix it up. If I had leftover cheesy bacon fries, I'd pour broccoli all over it and mix it in. Usually my homemade stuff has vegetables in it, but I started making sure everything did. I made a pot of mac and cheese, the kids' favorite thing, and poured in roasted Brussels sprouts, which is actually delicious to me, and I'm eating more vegetables, so it's a win-win. She had been seeming annoyed, but we were all home when I made the pot of mac and cheese. She was in the living room and saw me get out the Brussels sprouts and was like, "What are you going to do with that?" And I poured them in. She said I was being greedy and annoying. I just said, "I like Brussels sprouts," and that was it. She said, "We need food," and I told her to go get some, or stop buying only prepackaged things and your money will go further. I think she sees this as some big act of revenge, but I just simply want to be able to eat my food. Also want to add that the sharing is not the issue. It's expecting to have food there, and it's not. So often I'd be working a long day and get home expecting to have a meal's worth of food, and it would all be gone. Or I wake up in a rush and had my food ready to eat in the morning only to find it gone. So now I have to skip breakfast. If she would simply text sometimes, "Hey, is it okay if we eat food item?" I would know, and know to make other plans. I would stop for food or know I have to whip something up when I get home. Also, I think eating the last of someone else's food is crazy and rude. If someone makes a big pot of something and you ask for a serving, sure. But if someone made something and there was one serving left and you eat it without permission, that is evil as hell. Update 1. So I have been steadfast with putting vegetables in everything. I've put vegetables in things I've never even thought of. This has carried on, and the mom calls me a jerk, but will not verbalize that she is eating my food. She just sees me making a lasagna and adding celery and bell peppers in the layers and fumes off to the side. The only thing I can't add vegetables to is snacks like chips, or if I bake brownies or cookies. However, this is easily remedied by putting baked goods in a Tupperware and keeping them in my room. Same with chips. As I have previously stated, the sharing is not the issue. Recently, the kid knocked on my door and asked if he could have a bag of microwave popcorn. I said yes and gave him one. All of this would be way less annoying if she'd just text, "Hey, can I have some of this?" and waited for my response before just helping herself. I do feel for the mom because she clearly struggles with cooking and trying new foods. She is older than me and winces at the thought of biting into anything green. And it is spreading to her kid. But it's no excuse. A few days ago, I was making taco meat out of ground beef, and like usual, she was looking without looking. She was off to the side, watching my every move, but trying her best to look normal. I made a dish the day before that involved sautéed mushrooms and cut up peppers. So when the meat was almost ready, I opened the fridge and she freaked when she saw me holding the mushrooms. She said son's name hates mushrooms. And I just poured them in the pan and mixed along with the cut up peppers. This caused her to react in a way I've never seen from her before. She was yelling and stomping around the kitchen while the kid just watched. Felt bad for the kid to have to see his mom like that. People were worried about her tampering with my food. I don't think she's the kind to do that, but if she did, I would report that right away. She was flipping out, but she didn't snatch my food or knock anything over. She was opening and slamming cabinets, and it was all very silly. Then she started going off about how she is going to get the authorities involved. I just told her sure, and that she needs to relax. She seemed genuinely upset and stressed, and I told her that I understand being a single mom is hard, but she needs to use her government assistance more responsibly. She'll come home with cold mac and cheese, sushi, and chicken from the grocery store, prepared foods, and blow all of it on that. I suggested food pantries and buying ingredients that last a while, like potatoes. She said I was being condescending and I always have food to eat. This is to address the just make a portion of your food and set it aside for her and the kid. I do not make enough money to regularly feed 2 other people. If every now and then she asked for some of my leftovers, sure. But this is a consistent thing that was happening. It's not as simple as giving her leftovers that I won't eat anyway. If I make a pot of something, I expect to live off that for the next few days. If it is eaten, then my money is messed up, and I have to go shopping again and budget for more food. Wastes my time and money. In the comments, Endless Beach Day said, I would have stopped dead in my tracks and asked her why she was telling me that her son hates mushrooms. Call her out directly, stop skirting the issue. Her food insecurity is not your problem. Her stealing your food is your problem. Upper Ad said, I can't believe people suggested that you make food for the kids. Some Redditors must be in the top 0.1%. Huh. You sound like an awesome cook, though. I think you may turn them into veggie lovers soon. What are you doing with those Brussels sprouts? Pfft, goodness gracious, it's none of your beeswax, lady. With all the recording, editing, and posting going on over here, I live in the world of leftovers, and hangry is a real thing. If I came home all jazzed up for recording and found that the food I expected to eat was missing, well, I just don't know what I would do. I understand being empathetic to the challenges that others face, but to expect that your roommate will cover both food costs and the time to cook? Nuh-uh, that's just ridiculous. I think I would start putting fun Post-its with my name and do not touch. So, is that passive-aggressive? Maybe I'd add a sticker. Passive-aggressive with a smiley face, a butterfly, a heart. Ooh, a star. Our second story brings the petty back to petty revenge, or rather, petty revenge gets visited back upon the petty when one woman is out for a late-night snack and finds herself in a bizarre situation at a not-so-fancy restaurant. Ever meet a waitress who's hell-bent on making sure your order wasn't right? Me either. But this young lady did, and she decided to revisit that same kindness when it came time to pay the bill. In story 2. This actually happened many years ago now. I was dining at a restaurant with friends around 9-ish in the evening. It was not a fancy restaurant by any means, but an affordable, delicious option that's always open late. It wasn't busy, and there was one very bored waitress who looked to be in her 40s. She put on a perky face and took our orders. Being a picky eater, I asked for a burger with no lettuce or tomato. I'd ordered the exact thing dozens of times before with no real issues. But something was off about this waitress. It comes with the lettuce and tomato, honey, she said, like I was stupid. Yeah, I laughed, thinking she was just teasing me at first. I just want the cheese, though. It just comes like that. That's how we make it, with lettuce and tomato, she said in a matter-of-fact way. I looked at my friends for some sort of help and only received dumbfounded looks in return. I said as nicely as I could, would you just leave the lettuce and tomato off? I was waiting for her to understand, but she acted like I was speaking nonsense. "Sorry, but that's just how we make it," she replied, clearly annoyed now. "But if you don't like it, just pick it off, sweetie." She finished taking our orders while I sat there, stunned. Picking off lettuce and tomato is easy enough, sure, but on rare occasions that the restaurant had forgotten to leave it off for me in the past, it usually left the bun soggy and tasting of the toppings I disliked. Hence why I asked for it not to be assembled that way. And I did everything I could in my very confused state of mind to be polite to this woman. I started to wonder if she was 1, on drugs, 2, messing with me to win a bet, or 3, profoundly stupid. I did end up receiving a burger with lettuce and tomatoes, surprise, surprise, and the bun was soaked by the questionable-looking piled-on tomatoes. It even looked like they had even managed to add more toppings than usual. I wondered what I ever could have done to this strange waitress to make her screw with my hunger like that. Did I hurt her in a past life? I asked if I could at least get a fresh burger bun because it was so watery, and she just looked at me, exasperated, and said, "This again? Just pick it off. It's fine." I never made a scene. I never asked to speak to a manager, and I ate my fries and the parts of the burger I liked. I honestly don't really like confrontation, but I did get a bit of petty revenge in the end. On the table, I left her the oldest, dirtiest $1 bill from my friend's wallet as a tip, because you should always tip your servers. Then I put the lettuce and tomato on top of that nasty dollar bill with a note saying, "Just pick it off, sweetie." I wish I could have seen her face. Edit to add a few things. The "always tip your servers" bit was supposed to be in a mocking tone, since that's what people always say. I didn't convey that well enough, so I wanted to clarify that I'm aware I didn't have to tip. For those of you saying I shouldn't have tipped at all, how else was I supposed to leave the toppings for her? That dollar wasn't a loss. It had been in my friend's wallet for over a year. It was so soft and deteriorated, I doubt many establishments would have even accepted it as payment, especially being soaked in tomato. I really hope it was bad enough that she had to make a special trip to the bank to replace it. For those of you calling me names or referring to me as too soft or whatever when I didn't stand up for myself in a really bizarre situation that confused the heck out of me, this was almost a decade ago and I was much more anxious and shy back then. I was in my early 20s at the time and working through some trauma, blah blah blah. You don't really need to know my childhood story, but I did my best then. And these days, I'll gladly tell you to frack off for being rude or calling me names, online or in person. I mean, is it some sort of weird kink or power play for those of you calling out a presumably skittish person rude names? That's messed up. In the comments, Gene Genius said, "Asking for things to be left off a burger is pretty common practice. Such a strange hill for the waitress to die on." OP replied, "Exactly. After we left, I wondered what she would have said to someone who was allergic to tomatoes or something." In the vending machine added, "She would have told them to either order something else or die, sweetie." Nothing gets me more fired up than a condescending sweetie. It's practically like saying frack you as far as I'm concerned. And in this instance, it's made all the worse by this waitress's attempt to sabotage OP's order. Going out to eat ain't cheap. Speaking of tips, I once had an overcooked burnt burger served to me. Didn't ask for well done, just came like that, as in hard as cardboard. I did send it back, not a regular thing for me, and the server comped the burger. So I obviously gave them the tip plus the cost of the burger. Pay it forward, my friends. And that's it for today. Until next time, shine bright, Starlight. If you've enjoyed the story and would like to hear more, consider liking, subscribing, and leaving a comment. Thanks, and bye for now.